My forehead is so shiny you can see your reflection in it. Hi guys, how are you today? My name is Bailey Sarian, and welcome to another episode of Murder, Mystery, and Makeup Monday. I'm out of breath. Okay. If you are new here, every Monday I sit down, I do my makeup, and I talk about a true crime story that's been heavy on my noggin. I do my makeup because it keeps me busy while I tell a story. Yeah, that's why I do it. It's not about the makeup. I'm just doing my makeup because I just don't like sitting here and just staring at the camera the whole time. It makes me very nervous and uncomfortable, and I would just rather keep myself busy and do my makeup, okay? Anyways, end of rant. Thank you so much. If you like true crime and you like makeup, then welcome. You made it. You're here. If you don't like true crime and makeup, that's okay. There's a lot of other videos on YouTube to choose from. You should hit that subscribe button. I am here for you every Monday with a new video, and then also I upload on Saturdays. Those are just more makeup related videos, and I'm also going to start sprinkling in goodness. Also, I just want to shout out you guys. I see you all the time writing me that you and your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, your wife, whoever, you guys sit down and you watch these videos. And I think that's really cool that I'm bringing relationships together. I'm going to add that to my resume. Bringing relationships together. And one more thing, I hit 300,000 subscribers and I was like, oh my God, what? And I cried because I'm a little baby. And I just want to say a big thank you to you guys. I appreciate you. I see you guys, since the ones that have been here since day one. Like I see you. I see you. I know who you are. I recognize your screen names all the time. And I just want to say welcome to all the newbies. I appreciate you for subscribing. It means more than you know. And it's cool that, we just kind of found something that I have food in my teeth. I just want to say that I appreciate you guys. Thanks. Okay, enough blabbing. Let's get into today's story, which is about Mitrice Richardson and her very sad story. They're all sad. If you are ever curious as to what I'm using on my face, I leave everything in the description box below. Today, I want to talk about Mitrice Richardson, and she was born on April 30th, 1985. Her parents were Lettice Sutton and Michael Richardson. Lettice and Michael, they had met as juniors at their high school, and then Lettice had become pregnant when she was entering her senior year of high school. She was determined still to keep good grades and just to be successful in life. And she also had moved in with her grandmother, Mildred, and she was considered more as Lettice's mother than her grandmother. So she was very close with her. When Mitrice was born, her great-grandma, Mildred, she would watch over Mitrice so that Lettice and Michael could go to school. And then when they graduated, also Mildred, she would watch over Mitrice so both parents could work. So Michael, Mitrice's father, he was working at a fast food restaurant, and then he ended up to start selling drugs on the side. It was a way to make easy money. It was quick. It was way more than what he made at the fast food restaurant, and he was just kind of living paycheck to paycheck. So he was like, okay, I'm just gonna, sell drugs. It's not what he wanted to do, but it's what he did. Unfortunately, it just kind of got out of control, and he ended up getting caught, and he ended up getting locked up. He went to jail. And when he was locked up, Mitrice was 4 years old, so she was still pretty young. He was sentenced to serve 8 years in state prison. And then in 1993, he was released, but Lettice, his girlfriend, Mitrice's mother, she didn't want to wait around for him while he was in jail. I mean, she had a family to take care of, and she just had to keep going with her life. He was in prison. She started to see other people, and she ended up meeting a guy named Larry Sutton. And then the two would end up marrying, and Larry would become Mitrice's stepfather. So at this time, they were living in Los Angeles. And then in 1993, the LA riots were going on. And if you were in Los Angeles, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but based off of stuff I've seen, there was growing violence, and then there was a lot of racial tensions going on. So Lettice and Larry made the decision to move to Covina, which is a Los Angeles suburb. It doesn't sound like it would be that much different, but it's way more quiet over there. I don't know what it's like now. Not that it matters. Okay. So it was just more of the suburbs. There was a lot of families there. It was more quiet, and it gave Mitrice the opportunity to build a good future, do well in school, and not be surrounded by all of the city violence that was happening at that time. So from an early age, obvious that Mitrice was a pretty smart cookie. Her mom would say in interviews that she used to tell Mitrice all the time that you can do whatever you want in this life, but you have to make sure to always give 100%. And she could achieve whatever her heart desired. And then throughout school, Mitrice, she always had super high grades. It would be said that Mitrice would get kind of bored throughout school because it was almost too easy for her. I wish I had that problem in school. Oh, I look crazy. In middle school, she joined the cheerleading team, and she would continue well into high school, where she was involved in multiple cheerleading competitions. She also loved dance. She loved dancing. She was someone that everyone loved to be around because she was just so happy, and it was like contagious, and she just was, or sounded like a very, very great person. In high school, though, her interest in like doing outdoor activities, it began to change. Like, she just had no interest in it. Like before, you know, she would play like outdoor sports or go outside with her family and go for a walk, garden with her grandmother, her great-grandmother. Mitrice just kind of stopped involving herself in that. Like, she took no interest in going outside. She started to say that she didn't like being around like bugs, and she didn't want to get dirty. So instead, she would just stay inside. She would do crossword puzzles. She would watch TV, dance, write in her journal. So then when Mitrice got her driver's license, I mean, like for any teenager, it's the best day of your life. And then you're determined like to not walk anywhere, never walking again. I'm only driving. So according to her mother, Mitrice's mother, she fell in love with psychology and learning about how the mind worked, why people did certain things they did. And she was fascinated just overall with psychology. So then after high school, Mitrice, she went on to Cal State Fullerton, and it was about 20 miles south of Covina. Rather than driving back and forth every day, Mitrice's mother, she suggested that Mitrice move in with her great-grandmother, Mildred. That wasn't far from school. She was there living by herself, so she was more than happy to have somebody come live with her, because, yeah, you don't want to be alone all the time. So Mitrice was more than happy to go stay with her great-grandmother. She jumped right into the college life. She was just living it up. So Mitrice was the first family member to attend college, and like much like she did in high school, she was crushing it. Okay? And she quickly rose to the top. She got onto the dean's list, and then she also found a job working at Santa Fe Springs shipping company. Mitrice stood out as a top student, and she decided she wanted to pursue a career in psychology, and she was determined to achieve that. And then in 2008, Mitrice graduated Cal State Fullerton, and she was looking at grad schools to pursue her master's degree in psychology as well. She'd taken a job dancing at Deborah's, which was a gay and lesbian nightclub in Long Beach. It might still be there. But Mitrice, she used a stage name Hazel, and she printed business cards. And on the business card, it had her picture, obviously her name, and Mitrice's real father, Michael. He didn't approve of her working at this nightclub. He warned her that this could potentially lead her to a lot of trouble or get herself into trouble. But Mitrice said like she wasn't a stripper. She was just entertainment. You know, like a go-go dancer. And if you're a stripper, there's nothing wrong with that either. So Mitrice tried to explain this to him, but you know, dads, they just don't understand. And then while dancing, Mitrice decided to try modeling. So she began going to job interviews in like sketchy ass areas, and friends were really concerned that she could end up in a really bad situation, and you know, don't meet up with these people in sketchy places, maybe go to a public place. But she wanted to pursue modeling. So during this time, Mitrice met this girl named Vanessa, and I guess it's hard to say because some people were saying that they were dating, and some people were saying that Mitrice was really interested in Vanessa, but they weren't dating because Vanessa technically had a girlfriend. There was some kind of like love triangle going on, and Mitrice really liked this girl, Vanessa, and wanted to pursue her, but Vanessa had the same feelings back. And then also during this time, Mitrice, she had attended a party at the Playboy Mansion, and she was a guest model. Friends could see that there was like something different about Mitrice. She seemed more stressed and irritated, and they think it was because of the relationship that was going on with Vanessa. Again, I'm not 100% sure what fully was going on, but she was in the picture. Eventually, Vanessa told Mitrice that she needed to back off, or at least she wasn't interested in her. And then that's when friends really noticed a drastic change in the way Mitrice had begun acting. She just seemed really withdrawn. Mitrice used to like call and text friends all the time, and she just completely stopped. And if she did, it would be like weird text messages that didn't make sense. And then friends noticed like on her Facebook and her MySpace, because MySpace was still around then, I think, they were constantly being updated with random like thoughts and statements at all hours of the day. One of the posts that she had posted was, quote, "Have you ever woke up at 7 a.m. crying on a Saturday because now that you see the light, you see all the people lost in the dark?" End quote. I mean, I've seen posts like this before, I guess. Have I? Have you? I don't know. But it was just different for something that Mitrice would be posting. So as summer 2009 was coming to a close, her behaviors became more erratic and a little difficult to track. She started to withdraw more, like from friends and from family. In text messages, Mitrice would not make any sense. Like her sentences would be disjointed, and they didn't appear to be connected to like any particular topic. Her explanations for her behavior, it made even less sense. On one occasion, Mitrice's mother, Lettice, she had texted her asking her daughter like, "Hey, what's going on?" Mitrice responded with a text message that said, quote, "I'm writing a book because you told me I can be anything I wanted. You told me I was Miss America. You told me I was America's Next Top Model. Now do you know what I want to be when I grow up? Miss Mother Nature. Because Miss America is fake-ass joke. So I'm trying to find my way to Michelle Obama to see if she will talk to Mr. Obama about creating my position within the White House." End quote. So this is concerning to her mother, at least, because like this isn't something that Mitrice, like what is going on is what her mom is realizing. Mitrice doesn't really have an explanation. She's giving her kind of like the runaround, or giving her text messages like that where it doesn't quite make sense as to just what's going on, you know? And then on September 16th, it began like any normal ass day, like they always do in these stories. Early in that morning, Lettice received a few text messages from her daughter that again didn't make a lot of sense. And according to a coworker, Mitrice, she had showed up to the shipping company that morning and she was in a really good mood. Everything seemed normal. But when Mitrice went on her lunch break, she didn't return. She hadn't told anybody where she was going or that she wouldn't be returning. And then on Wednesday nights, Mitrice and her great-grandmother, they would sit down together and have dinner. But on this day, Mitrice, when she got home, she explained that she had a change of plans. She told her great-grandmother that the ocean was calling her name. She needed to go to the beach. So she told her great-grandmother, "Hey, I'm gonna skip dinner just for tonight. I'm gonna drive down to Malibu along the scenic Pacific Coast Highway." And as far as Mildred knew, her great-grandmother, everything seemed fine. There was nothing concerning about her behavior or her plans. She didn't really think anything of it. Mitrice left the house at around 5 p.m. and headed towards Malibu. At least we think. Sometime between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m., Mitrice's aunt, her name was Lauren, she came home and then she saw like all over her lawn and the steps to the front door, there was a bunch of business cards everywhere. And when she picked it up, she looked and she saw that it was Mitrice. Her business cards were like scattered everywhere. And she thought, well, oh, like Mitrice must have stopped by and she must have dropped all of these. Why Mitrice went there, nobody really knows. Lauren, the aunt, she discovered a strange note that was like tucked under the windshield wiper of her husband's car. It was in Mitrice's handwriting, but it made no sense. There was a smiley face drawn on the page along with the statement, quote, "I, Uncle Johnny Jimmy." Nobody knows. On the right-hand side of the letter was written, quote, "Black women scorned," end quote. Lauren, the aunt, she wasn't really sure what to make of it. I mean, what would you do? I don't know what I would do. I'd be like, okay, thanks. She didn't really overthink it. She would go on to say that she felt like in the pit of her stomach that something just was off. Something wasn't right. And if you ever have that feeling, you need to listen to it. So it's believed that Mitrice had arrived in Malibu around 7 p.m. She stopped to watch the sunset, and then she got back into her car and began to drive along Pacific Coast Highway, which is a really beautiful area. You get a nice view of the ocean and just really pretty. So while she's driving, she comes across this restaurant. It's called Joffrey's or Jeffrey's. I think it's Joffrey's or Jeffrey's. And let me tell you, this restaurant is bougie. Okay? It's like one of those places where bread costs $50. I've seen it. I've never been there before. They don't have a dollar menu. So Malibu is not really a place that Mitrice, has spent like a great deal of her time in. She sees this place, Joffrey's, and she decides that she wants to go in and enjoy the view and then get some good food as well. So she pulls into the parking lot, and the parking is valet only. Valet man explained that like he was gonna go park another car and he'd come back, get Mitrice's car and move that. So pretty much she's saying like, just hold on 5 minutes. So she agreed. So then as soon as the valet guy drove away with another customer's car, she got out of her car and then she climbed into the valet guy's car, like another car that he had to park, or it was his car. It just said the valet guy's car. When the valet guy came back, now get Mitrice's car, he saw that Mitrice was in this other car and he's like, what are you doing? Her response to him was, quote, it's subliminal, end quote. So the valet guy's like, what are you doing? And then she later explained to the valet guy that she needed to avenge the death of Michael Jackson. And then she just like sat in the car digging through all of the CDs that were in this car. It wasn't her car. So then Mitrice, she handed the valet guy her car keys. And then she turns to the valet guy and she asks, is Vanessa here? And the valet guy is like, I don't know who the hell Vanessa is. Mitrice warned him to watch out for a woman with tattooed arms. Mitrice walks into the restaurant. She's just kind of like browsing around, and the valet guy tells the hostess to keep her eye on Mitrice because she was acting just really strange. So Mitrice had asked for a table for one, and she was led into the main dining area. Now, again, like this place is super fancy. I mean, people don't come dressed in like tuxedos and stuff, but a little bit nicer. So Mitrice did stand out a little bit because she was wearing a Bob Marley t-shirt, and then she had a long sleeve shirt underneath it. She had on Vans, a pink alligator belt to hold up her jeans. She also had on Rastafarian hat. So she orders a cocktail, and then she also ordered a Kobe steak, which is like $65. Not that it matters, but like treat yourself. But while waiting for her food to come out, she noticed like a table. It was nearby and it had a group of people. It was like 7 different people. So she approaches this table and she kind of invites herself in their party. The people that were seated, they said that Mitrice was just making really strange comments. She told this table that she was from another planet, that her mom was planet Earth. So then Mitrice's food comes out. So she goes back to her table and she eats for $65. It better be a life-changing steak. So then once Mitrice was done eating her meal, she went back over to the table of people that she was talking to. Once they were done eating, they paid their bill and then they were getting ready to leave. And I guess Mitrice, she got up and she started to leave with them. She told the people at the table that she was going to Hawaii soon and that she would contact them when she arrived. So then Mitrice was following the 7 individuals out of the restaurant because they were getting ready to leave. So Mitrice was like following with them, but she was stopped by the manager and said like, where are you going? You haven't paid your bill yet. And her bill was like, it was like $90 for the 2 things she ordered. And so the manager was like, you haven't paid. And Mitrice was saying that her bill was paid for, that the people at the table, they paid for it. And the manager said like, no. The manager asked Mitrice, well, they didn't pay for it. You have to pay us. How are you going to pay for this? And Mitrice responded by saying, quote, I'm busted. What are we going to do? Mitrice also told the manager that she was from Mars. She emptied out her pockets to show that she had no money. So since she was not able to pay the bill and her odd behavior, the manager told the hostess to call the police. While on the phone with the police, the hostess explained what was going on. And the hostess explained that like this customer, she's on drugs or she might have some like mental issues. So police were en route. Okay, so then the hostess allowed Mitrice to make a phone call, and the only phone number Mitrice could seem to remember was Mildred's number, her great-grandmother. She called her great-grandmother, Mildred, and Mildred actually offered to give her credit card information over the phone so that she could pay the bill. But unfortunately, the restaurant, they couldn't accept her credit card number over the phone. She had to be there in person to like, sign the receipt, which I think is really stupid because I feel like I've been places where they've accepted credit card payment over the phone, but I don't know. So now it was like 9 p.m. at night and 3 officers arrived at Joffrey's, and the officers asked Mitrice some questions like, what's going on, trying to see like where she's at mentally. And Mitrice says that her wallet was in her car and she could pay for it because her wallet was simply in her car. So then the officers, they started looking through her car to retrieve her wallet. But when they were going through her car, they realized it was a mess. There was just stuff everywhere, papers, garbage, items all over the place. They could not find her wallet, but they did find her license. And they also found a small amount of marijuana. Like, it wasn't enough to warrant an arrest. It could easily just have been taken care of with a misdemeanor ticket. So then Mitrice was given a sobriety test. And she ended up passing, like she wasn't under the influence of anything. When they couldn't locate her wallet, that's when they asked the manager, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to let her go, or do you want to like press charges? And the owner decided that he wanted to press charges against Mitrice. So at this time, Mitrice is 24 years old. I don't know if I ever mentioned that, but she was handcuffed and she was placed into the back of the patrol car and she was taken down to sheriff's station. So I believe that the restaurant was on the phone with Mitrice's great-grandmother, Mildred. And then Mildred was told that Mitrice was going down to the police station. Mildred called Mitrice's mother and let her know like what was going on. So then Mitrice's mother called the police station and she had asked the police station, is Mitrice going to be released tonight or tomorrow? Like what's going to happen? Because she was going to drive down there to the police station to pick up Mitrice. But if she wasn't going to be released, she didn't want to bother driving all the way out there to pick her up because she had a 10-year-old daughter at home who was still sleeping. So it was just going to be an inconvenience to drive all the way down there for her to not even get released. The police station informed her she'll be released tomorrow and we'll make sure to have Mitrice call you and let you know like what's going on and whatnot. Mitrice's mother is like, okay, well, you know, I'll wait for the call. At least like I don't have to drive all the way out there tonight. And Mitrice's mother later on would say like, oh, I was kind of glad knowing that she was safe and like locked up all night versus like her just being out there, because really out of character for her to be acting like this, and I wouldn't want her out on the street because who knows what would happen. So her mom was kind of not happy that she got in trouble, had peace of mind knowing that Mitrice would be in a safe spot. So once Mitrice arrived, she was put in a cell. She was being charged for possession of marijuana and defrauding an innkeeper, which I thought was weird because I thought she didn't have enough marijuana to be charged with, but that's what she was being charged with. And for some odd reason, when Mitrice was arrested, the deputy who was like filing the paperwork and whatnot, they made no mention and no notes about Mitrice's behavior. Like she was acting and saying strange things, and normally you would kind of take note of this. There was nothing written in the reports that would suggest any questions existed about her mental state at the time. The reason for this has been heavily debated, and the general consensus seems to believe that this was done either to avoid the additional paperwork or because the deputy felt that Mitrice was fine. Had she been written in as possibly being mentally unstable, she could have been held under a closer observation, or she could have even been brought down for a 72-hour psych hold and evaluation. According to the call logbook, Mitrice had placed 4 different phone calls, and it was seen as kind of weird because she made 4 phone calls, but we're unsure who they were to. One of them was not to her great-grandmother, which was the only phone number she seemed to remember. And unfortunately, of course, like that night, normally in jail, like there's a pay phone and anyone who got arrested can make a phone call. Normally when they make these phone calls, they are recorded. But of course, payphone was out of order that day or night. So they had Mitrice use the phone on their desk. Like it was just a normal phone and it wasn't recorded. Nobody knows who she called. Multiple deputies who were interviewed, they all heard Mitrice talking on the phone. They don't know who she was talking to or what. They can't remember what exactly she was saying, but they know that she was on the phone and she was talking. Whether she was talking to somebody or not, she could have even just been talking to herself, pretending she was on the phone, but I guess we'll never really know. Meanwhile, at home, Mitrice's mother, she was like getting ready for bed. She was kind of waiting to see if Mitrice was going to call her, but she never came through. So, okay, well, I'll wake up early and then I'll head out there and get it all settled and see what's going on. That was her plan. Her mother had gone to sleep. So then September 17th at 5:20 a.m., Mitrice's mother, she calls a sheriff's station and asks what it would cost to bail her daughter out, or like how it works really. She was informed that Mitrice had been released overnight. Suspicious. So then when she finds out that Mitrice has been released, she's like, what? And she asked, well, why has Mitrice been released? Like, you guys told me she wasn't going to be released till this morning. The person on the phone with her mom said, well, she was released because she had no previous, like, record. And her charges, they were not, like, big enough to warrant holding her. It would have been against the department's policy to hold her overnight. So why'd they bring her? I don't know. Again, I know nothing. They said on the phone that Mitrice was told, okay, you could stay in the cell if you want to. That way you have somewhere to stay tonight. And Mitrice turned them down. And then they also offered her to stay in the lobby and wait. And Mitrice also said, no thanks. So they told Mitrice's mom on the phone this, like, she didn't want to stay. We can't force her. When asked about Mitrice's state of mind, the sheriff's department said that she was showing, like, no signs of a mental illness. She wasn't intoxicated. She was fine. Quote, she's an adult. End quote. They're not wrong about that. Like, they can't force her to stay if she doesn't want to stay. But so Mitrice had been released at 12:15 a.m. She had no car. She had no money. Her wallet was in her car. No money. She had no phone, no food, nothing. Like 12:15 in the morning, she was released. Bye. What are you supposed to do? She can't get anywhere. 12:15 in the morning, a young woman, like, what? Jeez. Yeah, she'll be fine. Her car was actually at an impound center that was like 15 miles away, so it's not like she was flipping close. And even if she did get there, most likely they would be closed. So, like, what was she supposed to do? At no point did deputies or anyone offer her a ride. So again, what is she supposed to do? What did they think was going to happen? So then Mitrice's mother, she calls everyone. She's calling everyone to see, like, hey, have you heard from Mitrice? But she's calling around just trying to see maybe Mitrice, like, showed up somewhere and, like, just didn't let her know. I don't know. So when she's making these calls, she's realizing nobody has heard from Mitrice. Like, nobody knows where she's at. And she starts to kind of, like, freak. She starts to panic, as any of us would. So then Lettice is feeling worried. She's feeling scared. And just really upset. So she calls the sheriff's station back. It's been 15 minutes since her last call. She calls them back and she's like, I want to file a missing persons report on my daughter because nobody's seen her. Nobody knows what's going on. Like, I'm really worried. And she was told over the phone that they usually wait about 24 hours unless there are serious circumstances. But for the most part, you should wait 24 hours because she might show up. The police station had convinced Lettice to just wait. She'll show up. Just wait. So then back at the police station, it's about 6:30 a.m. The sheriff's station, they receive a phone call from a guy named Bill Smith. And he's a retired reporter who lived in an area called Monte Nido. It's out there, Malibu area. But over there's a lot of canyons, hiking area. There's ranches. It's not far from the station. It's like 6 miles from the police station. Anyways, so this Bill guy, he calls the sheriff's office. He says there's this young lady. She's a slim black woman with afro hair walking through his backyard. Those are his words. According to this guy, Mr. Smith, he asked the woman, is she all right? Like, first of all, you're in my backyard, but are you all right? And she said that she was just resting. So then this guy, Mr. Smith, he goes back into doing whatever it is he was doing at the time. He kind of like goes back to doing that, and then he looks out his window again to see if she's still there, and she's gone. So he called the police because it's not like there's houses like crammed on top of one another out there. It's like a lot of land and whatnot. So it's like, where'd this lady come from, first of all? Second of all, where's she going? Third of all, why is she in my yard? So that's why he called the police in the first place. Because at first I was like, why do you call the police on that? But I guess people just call the police. So then a deputy goes out to see this Bill guy and check on to see if the woman's still there. But when the sheriff went out there, they didn't find anybody. They didn't see anybody who was just wandering around. They didn't find anyone who fit the description. So that was really that. So then Mitrice's mother, Lettice, she arrived at the station and she finally was like, okay, I need to file a missing persons report. It's been a couple hours now. She still hasn't shown up. I need to file this report. So while she was there, the police officers were like, oh, we got a call from this guy out in Monte Nido. We got a call from this guy out there and they think like they spotted her out there. So then Lettice was given directions where this guy's house was or like how to get there. So Lettice, she files the missing persons report and then she heads out to the area where maybe somebody saw Mitrice. Lettice would say that she had that really bad like gut feeling. She was like, I just know something's up, something's not right. Now the area that Mitrice may have been at, it was like really difficult to get there. It's extremely rugged and remote with like steep canyons, difficult terrain. It wasn't easy to like go looking for somebody or something out there. Lettice, Mitrice's mother, she stated that Mitrice, she hated walking, she did not like being out in nature, and she was deathly afraid of the dark. So didn't make sense as to why she would be out there because there's like no street lights or anything. It was at nighttime, it's like pitch black out there. It's just the moonlight, which is kind of nice, but like not really. If you're scared of the dark, I'm still talking. Why am I still talking? 48 hours after Mitrice's disappearance on September 19th, that's when the first official search went ahead. And some reports say it was 8 hours after Mitrice's disappearance, but the family says it was 48 hours later. So that's like a big difference too. So they brought out a tracking dog, or the search dogs that smell stuff, and they brought him to Bill's house, Mr. Smith. Remember him? So they brought the dog out there to see if he picked up Mitrice's scent in hopes that they get led in the right direction. And the dog picks up Mitrice's scent, and the dog led them up to like a nearby neighbor's house, and then the scent was lost. So the search lasted about 8 hours, and then they called it off. So then 4 days go by. It's now September 23rd, and the case is transferred from LAPD Missing Persons Unit to their Robbery Homicide Division. So the first thing that they wanted to do was examine Mitrice's car and see if there's any like signs or indications of where maybe she was going, what like her plan for the day was, phone numbers, whatever they could find. Maybe they'll find something in the car. Once detectives are going through her car, they come across Mitrice's phone and her wallet, which is in the car. And in her wallet was her debit card. So they check like her bank statements to make she's not withdrawing money or anything, or they go through her bank statements and they see like she has over $2,000 in her bank account. So she could have easily paid her bill in the first place if she had been able to go get her wallet from her car. So it's kind of like, oh my gosh, all this could have just been prevented if she was able to go get her wallet. They also found her journal in her car, and so they go through her journal. It would kind of help them see maybe what her mindset was before disappearing. And a psychologist working with LAPD speculated that Mitrice was most likely suffering from some kind of mental illness, specifically like maybe possibly it was bipolar disorder. The media picks up the story and they're saying that a young African-American woman has been arrested and brought to the sheriff's station and then allowed her to leave on her own despite questions of her mental health. The arguments quickly became a question of why deputies didn't offer her a ride when just a few years earlier, Mel Gibson was arrested for a DUI, and he was brought to the same station. He was booked and everything, and then once he was released, police gave him a ride back to his vehicle. So everyone's saying like a famous actor, Mel Gibson, why are they giving him a ride? And they're not able to give a young woman a ride at 12 in the morning when she has no car, a wallet, or a phone. Like, I think it's a good point. I agree. So Mitrice's family, obviously they're really angry. Plus they're heartbroken. Like, where's their daughter at? Where is their daughter at? So Mitrice's mother wants to know like why her daughter was released when she had been assured that she would be held and not released until the morning. The sheriff's department denied any knowledge of Mitrice's possible mental health issues, but there was an email from September 20th between the station's lieutenant and captain, which the lieutenant explained that he felt she was acting unusual and uneasy about letting her go. Like, this is what it says in the email. And then the sheriff's station, they stand by the fact that they had no idea and they don't have any recollection of writing this email. There's no way. They didn't say this, even though there was like an email. Side note. These cases, especially when like maybe the police are like the bad ones, ones here. Why don't they just own up and say, we made a great mistake? Like, I don't get that. Why do they always stand by the fact that they did everything right? And then in the end, they don't, and then it makes them look even worse. Like, why do they do that? Can someone explain? So due to like obvious conflicting information, tensions were growing between the family and law enforcement. So Mitrice's mother, she hired a civil rights attorney. Several months have passed, but the family and friends they searched the area. They handed out flyers trying to keep and bring awareness about Mitrice's disappearance, just reminding people to keep their eyes open and don't forget about her. And then January 9th, 2010, so 4 months after the disappearance, authorities, volunteers, search and rescue teams, totaling to about 250 individuals, they searched the area that Mitrice was last seen. They were looking for anything: a shoelace, clothing, crumbs. They were just looking for anything that would hopefully give them some answers, and nothing, not a shred of evidence was found. Shortly after the search for Mitrice, Michael, Mitrice's real father, he's driving out to Las Vegas. He reports seeing Mitrice, and he alleges to have seen her working as a prostitute and speculates that she may have been recruited by someone she met through the Playboy Mansion or dancing at her job. And then according to Michael, he says that he called out her name. He was yelling, "Mitrice, Mitrice," and he runs after her. But the woman, whoever it was, she ran off into the crowd. But Michael was like, "I saw her. I know I did." So March 29th, which is like 6 months after the disappearance, Mitrice's family is brought in to the sheriff's department, to be shown the surveillance footage. Now, they've been asking for this footage for a long time, but the police officers constantly said over and over again that there was no surveillance cameras and that they have cameras in the station, but they don't record. They're just there to monitor. They kept telling the family over and over again, there is no footage. There is nothing at all. They magically find this footage because the civil rights attorney was like really pushing for it heavy. So good for them. It's so frustrating because if they didn't have an attorney or somebody, I don't know, but they probably wouldn't have seen the footage. Anyway, so out of thin air, this footage magically appears. Poof, they have footage. Oh, weird. They watch the footage and they see that, okay, like Mitrice is acting really weird. She's holding on to the cell bars and she's like swaying her body from side to side. She looked like she was really agitated, annoyed. Her family says her behavior is abnormal. It's obvious, like she's acting very strange. And the sheriff's department disagree. They're like, no, she looked normal to us. That's why we released her. But based off the footage, the official release time was about 12:28 a.m. The jailer walks her out the door, and as the jailer is re-entering, another deputy can be seen exiting the building. The family had been told that no deputies were present at the time of her release, and now they begin to wonder, like, hey, did this deputy give her a ride? Did he have something to do with it? Did he see something? Like, where's this guy at? So then the deputy that was seen leaving, he was interviewed or asked questions, and he said, I didn't see her leaving. I don't remember. So these guys are super helpful. Now in June, a former friend of Mitrice's believes he spotted her in Las Vegas as well. So according to this guy, he saw her in a casino, he called out her name, she appeared nervous, and then ran away. So since this is 2 times now someone spotted her or thinks they spotted her in Las Vegas, investigators are sent out there to investigate. More than 70 people had reported seeing Mitrice there, but after looking around and investigating, questioning people, they did not come across her and they couldn't seem to find where she could be at. So that was the end of that. So then August 9, 2010, 2 park rangers were out there in that Monte Nido place, Nido. And then they're like walking around, hiking this like area. Extremely difficult to walk in this area, and it's known as the Dark Canyon. And it's incredibly steep. It's difficult to maneuver through this canyon. Like, they do not recommend anybody really go out there because it's rough. Okay. During their descent, they kind of like discover what seems to be a body. They see a skull with like curls of dark hair still attached. Nearby there were women's clothing. The remains later would be confirmed to be those of Mitrice. So Mitrice's right leg was located about 6 feet up from the canyon from where her body had been found, and then there were no signs of animals having found or disturbed the body. Her left arm was flexed tightly, and what baffles law enforcement officials is the idea that Mitrice could have been lying in that canyon for nearly a year, and yet no animals found her. Her body seemed undisturbed. This particular area, I mean, they have coyotes, they have scavenger birds, so that's suspicious. Also, this area where Mitrice's remains were found, it's very difficult to get there, so the coroner couldn't get up there with their car. Apparently they had to take Mitrice's body up by a helicopter, and they weren't able to get pictures of how Mitrice, her body and her remains were found. Luckily, one of the park ranger guys, he actually took a photo on his cell phone, and that was the photo that was used to see the scene. So according to the medical examiner, there was no signs of trauma to the body, no outward signs of physical violence, nothing to explain what happened. Her cause of death is ruled to be undetermined. The only clothing that was recovered was her jeans and a belt and bra. 2 of her shirts were missing, socks, underwear, shoes, they were all missing. They weren't located around the area at all. Police said animals must have gotten to them. So what they're saying is animals now know how to undress people. You better watch out, you guys. Next time you're out camping, a coyote might try and take off your clothes. I'm being facetious. Because why wouldn't they mess with the body if it's been almost a year now? Just doesn't make any sense. So Lettice, Mitrice's mother, decided to hire a forensic anthropologist. So he takes a look at the photographs that were taken when they found Mitrice's body. And remember, they were taken on a cell phone because they couldn't get proper photos of the scene and whatnot. When they originally found Mitrice's body, her skull was completely detached and it was resting upside on the upper torso. 5 of her neck bones were not recovered, so it's hard to believe her body was still intact, which was what the sheriff and lieutenants were saying. When they found her body, everything was untouched. But they were lying. We don't know why. Why are you lying? And then the forensic anthropologist had a great deal of questions about the way Mitrice's remains were discovered. In an interview, he was explaining that the left arm, it was flexed, and it was in a weird position, something that would not happen if you died the way she had supposedly died. He knew it could not be created by environmental conditions where the body was found. There was nothing present to hold her arm in such a position that was defying gravity. And he says the initial assumption should have been a homicide and the scene should have been treated as such. For example, Mitrice's hair wasn't examined at all. Some hair was still attached to her skull, but other hairs were found nearby. There were some reports that said it was her hair, and there were some other reports that said it was someone else's hair. But an earring was found tangled up in her hair as well, and it was not attached to her body, but it was an earring which Mitrice was not reported to be wearing at the time that she vanished. That wasn't examined at all. And then Mitrice's remains and clothing were not examined for fibers or hairs related to the possible suspect. The surrounding area wasn't checked for blood. He noticed that Mitrice's teeth had a pinkish hue to them, which could suggest strangulation, but the neck bones are necessary to determine if it was a strangulation, but they were never recovered. No one knows where her neck bones are. So then July 2011, Mitrice's body was exhumed and it was brought to the LA Sheriff's Department crime lab for examination. The coroner came to the same conclusion, which was undetermined cause of death and no signs of homicide, which... why? I don't know. So this upsets the family, as it should. Lettice and Michael, they both separately filed lawsuits against the LA Sheriff's Department, which was settled, and both of them were awarded a good amount of money. The Sheriff's Department, they do not and will not seem to admit that they did any wrongdoing on their part. So the family reached out to California Attorney General's office asking them to review the Sheriff's Department's handling of the case. In 2016, they state that they were going to begin criminal investigation in connection with the case, and after a year-long investigation, they concluded insufficient evidence to support a criminal prosecution for destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. So the family was trying to sue the Sheriff's Department for not doing the right thing. Okay, I mean, they originally were trying to hide the fact that they had security footage. They let Mitrice out, even though multiple people say that Mitrice was acting weird or seemed mentally ill. They let her go without her phone, wallet, anything. So yes, I think they should be in trouble for that. Come on, this could have all been prevented. So it was later explained that sadly, even if they had discovered evidence to prosecute the people involved at like the sheriff's station, there would be little that they could do because the statute of limitation, it ran out in 2014. I think the family just honestly wanted closure and for people to be held accountable, which they deserve. So there are many people who believe that there are answers as to what happened to Mitrice, and they're out there, but someone has to know the truth, and hopefully someone will speak up and come forward and say what happened. For now, there are just theories as to what happened that are floating around. There's a lot of theories. There's some theories that say the police department was trying to cover up some kind of bigger involvement with something, but I couldn't quite find like an answer as to what they were hiding. But that was one theory. Another theory is just that Mitrice was suffering from a mental illness. She went down into that canyon and she died. And then another theory is that the LA Sheriff Department played a role in Mitrice's death. Some people believe that letting her go was purely negligent, while others believe the investigation itself may have been a mass cover-up to conceal criminal acts by the deputies. And then the final theory suggests that Mitrice's death was a homicide and that Mitrice may have come across someone who offered her a ride and then she was later murdered. Or when she approached the dark canyon area, someone maybe like saw her or found her, or they were down there too, and then they killed her. If Mitrice had simply been held in jail or held in the office or given like a ride home, this story would be completely different. The family hopes that they will somehow find a way to obtain the answers and get justice for their daughter. And yeah, that's the story about Mitrice, about how shitty that police department is and how they hold no responsibility for what they did. If you know anything about what had happened to Mitrice, I'll leave in the description box below maybe where you can reach out and speak up. I should probably do that with all of the stories I talk about, which I will. Okay, good call. Anyways, so this story is odd. Like, what happened to Mitrice? Nobody knows. The location where she was found, it's so hard to get to that area. I feel like there's no way she would have just wandered over there. And if she did wander over there, why weren't the animals and like, how was her body still in such like quote unquote like good condition when it has been out there for almost a year? I don't know, like were the neighbors looked at more heavily? It seems like the police department didn't even want to deal with it. So anyways, I would love to hear your theories on what you think may have happened. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you have a really good day. You make good choices. Please be safe out there. And I never know how to end these because it's always like a really sad story and then I'm like, bye. But other than that, I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Bye.